Hey everybody, my name is Joe Bolig. I'm an RSR that runs a 24 bulk route out of Coos Bay, Oregon, part of District 322. Recently I went through kind of a big change in my life, and my district manager, Mike Owen, and I decided that it would be a really good idea to make a video kind of documenting on what I did. Well, what I did kind of relates to our safety goals that are going on this summer. Part of those safety goals or safety categories was health and wellness. And I recently lost a bunch of weight. I actually lost 45 pounds over the course of about 3.5 months. And we decided that it was a good idea that I share that knowledge with you. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I've done a lot of research on my own. When I originally went to college, I went to college for exercise science with the intention of graduating and possibly making this my profession. But life always doesn't happen as planned, so I went another way, but I still am very passionate about this. So what I want to do is just kind of give you a quick overview of basic nutrition knowledge. You really don't need to overcomplicate things. You need to keep it simple. That's what's always worked for me whenever I've done anything nutrition related, or whenever I've given advice to somebody when they've asked me about it. If you go into like these fad diets, the Atkins diet, the ketogenic diet, there's a ton of them out there, and I'm sure you've heard of or read about one of them. They overcomplicate everything and make it really difficult for people to focus on what they actually need to do, and that's a sustainable way of eating that you can continue to and maintain your weight loss long after you went through the grueling part of actually losing the weight. So what we're going to start talking about, and whether you can read this or not, it's kind of more for me to keep me on task because I tend to go off on tangents. Basically, calories in, calories out. So every day you eat food, and that food has calories in it. And whether or not you eat more or less is going to determine your body weight. So your body has a specific place it likes to be at, whether that's where you're at right now, or maybe you're a little bit heavier, a little bit lighter than where your body likes to be. Based on how many calories you eat every day, that is going to kind of dictate what your body does with those calories and how it manages your weight, or how it manages your tissues. So fat, lean muscle, water weight, and all those things. So calories in, calories out. If you eat more calories, if you burn less calories than you take in, you're gonna gain weight. If you eat less calories than you burn with no exercise, just laying in bed all day at rest, then you're gonna lose weight. So you could literally do nothing, but as long as you ate less than your body burns at rest, then you would lose weight. So calories in, calories out. That's always a big thing that people tend to kind of forget when they're thinking about losing weight. And then let's talk about all the macronutrients that you consume within those calories. So the first one is protein. And protein's an essential macronutrient. There are essential amino acids within protein that your body needs to go about its daily functions. So protein is something that your body does need. It's 4 calories per gram. So every gram of protein you eat has 4 calories in it, and that's a big thing to keep in mind when you're eating. And the other thing that's probably the most important thing about protein is that it has a 20% thermic effect of food, which means that if I consume 1,000 calories from protein, 20% or 200 of those calories are going to be used to actually go through the digestion process of that protein. So protein is very metabolic, meaning it speeds up your metabolism, which is something that when you're trying to lose weight is pretty important. And it's also responsible for the building and repairing of tissues. So your lean tissue, the only way you can build or repair that tissue is by stimulating protein synthesis by ingesting protein. Synthesis basically just means construction. So you're constructing new tissue, and the only way you can do that is by eating protein. Carbs, and note I put non-essential there. Non-essential means you don't need them. So Atkins diet people who've read about that, or ketogenic diet people that have read about that, carbs, you don't need them. You can run off of different fuel. But most people prefer to run off carbs because it's easily digested, and one of the benefits is it's only 4 calories per gram, and it does have a 5 to 8% thermic effect of food, which isn't really metabolic at all compared to protein. So when you're comparing the thermic effect, always look between comparing them to protein. So when you think about what you're going to eat, protein is probably a little bit higher on the pecking order than carbs. I put insulin on here because a lot of people know, and if you're type 2 diabetic or you have diabetes, you know how important controlling insulin is. Carbs stimulate insulin. That hormone is responsible for not only your blood sugar, but also the storage of body fat and also the shuttling of nutrients to cells within your body. So if you are overeating carbs and you're constantly running your blood sugar high, not only are you at risk for type 2 diabetes, but you're also in a bad place for your body storing body fat. And if you're also eating a lot of fat, then your body's really going to hold on to that instead of using it for fuel. Fats is the other macronutrient. Fats are essential. There are essential fatty acids. I don't know a ton about fat because I've never been really dived into it, and there's not as much research about fat, but a lot of what fat has to do with is hormones, thyroids, what's the other one? Oh, and a lot of saturated fats are known for boosting testosterone. It's just fats, there are essential fatty acids that your body needs to carry out processes within your body. It's 9 calories per gram, so you note that between carbs and protein, it's actually over double. So every gram of fat you eat is worth basically 2 grams of protein or 2 grams of carbs. And then in the long run, it becomes more and more because it is more than half. It only has a 5 to 8% thermic effect, much like carbohydrate. And fats get a bad rap a lot of times, especially if you're a little bit older and you grew up in the 90s when low fat things started to really hit the market and low fat things became a thing. That doesn't necessarily mean that food is good for you. So these are the macronutrients. Pecking order wise, protein is number 1, especially if you're trying to lose weight. And then it's kind of up to you whether carbs or fats are the other 2 that kind of fit your equation based on your lifestyle and what you like to eat. Because one of the most important things about losing weight is being able to sustain that weight loss. And by sustaining that weight loss, you have to eat things you like while you're losing weight. Otherwise, when you're done losing weight, the chances of you putting on the weight back are much greater. So everybody wants to know, a lot of people may know this, but a lot of people, they get to this point. What do I eat right now, and where do I go from there? So a lot of times, people don't know where to start, and that's just, they look for something to point them in the right direction. That's where a lot of these fad diets and these books about fad diets or these guru type people that come out with these fad diets get their money, because people don't know where to start and they're looking for something or somewhere to go. Basically, what you need to do to start is really simple. Keep it simple, right? So what I would do and what I did to get to where I'm at now is I just tracked what I ate based on portion size and the foods I ate, because I kind of eat the same types of foods most of the time. So, for dinner, it's a protein, a starch, and a vegetable. For breakfast, it's probably eggs or some type of protein shake, meal replacement, or something like that. And then maybe some, bread or something, some type of carb. So it was really easy for me to kind of eyeball it. And I already am kind of obsessive about what I eat all the time. So knowing what I eat wasn't really hard for me. But the one thing you can do that may make it a little easier for you, especially if you're into numbers, is by counting your calories, counting your proteins, your fats, and your carbs throughout a day. And do it for a week, or maybe 2 weeks would be even more accurate. But the whole thing with doing that is you can't change your normal routine, because then you won't have an accurate start point. So if I was gonna start right now and say I want to lose 10 more pounds, I would track everything I was eating. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change events. I wouldn't alter the way I ate if I was going to a birthday. I wouldn't alter the way I ate if I was going out with friends or whatever. So I would keep everything, and I would just write it. I wouldn't write it down. I would use the MyFitnessPal app, shameless plug, which is a great way to track your calories, and anybody can get it on any device. So use that app or any other app that can track calories, and just put in what you eat. A lot of them allow you to scan barcodes if you're eating something that's packaged, or even meats and things like that. It'll have a serving size. So if you get a big, pile of hamburger and you scan it and it comes up with a 5-pound hamburger because that's what you bought, you're only eating 4 ounces, or 8 ounces, and so you put that in under the serving size. So that's a good way to start, is what do I eat now? So don't change anything. Go off what you eat be normal. Don't stress about it yet because it's not a slow process. And that's probably the first strategy when trying to embark on this journey of I want to lose some weight, whether it's for a wedding, beach season, or I just want to be more healthy. So another good strategy is swapping foods. So let's say you find out in your 2 weeks that you eat a lot of rice or a lot of bread or a lot of carbs, and you kind of notice that you really aren't eating much protein. So what we talked about earlier with protein being more metabolic, stimulating your metabolism, it's one thing that some people can do is just swap out a portion of carbohydrate for a portion of protein. So instead of eating, maybe you didn't even eat protein, maybe you just ate fried rice or something for dinner. Well, you could swap out half that fried rice for 4 ounces of protein. Granted, the calories are probably going to end up being close to the same, but the thermic effect is going to be greater. So if you go through your day and your weeks and you notice, man, I'm only eating like 60 grams of protein a day, which you'll find out really isn't that much, and I'm eating 300 grams of carbohydrates a day, which is for some people a lot, for some people not. But if you're trying to lose weight, it's probably too much. Man, if I could swap half those carbs or a third of those carbs out for protein, then I might be able to see some changes without necessarily eating less. So that's one really good strategy. Another really good strategy for somebody trying to lose weight could be fasting. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't like to eat early in the morning. Most of us, if you're an RSR or even in management, then your job starts very early in the morning because we're going out on the front lines early in the morning. And maybe you just aren't hungry. Well, if you aren't hungry, it doesn't mean you have to eat. A lot of people have used fasting as a strategy to minimize their calorie intake. So if I can cut calories out of the first 4 or 5 hours of the day, then I'm going to eat less over a 24-hour period of time, which is what you have to do. So to lose weight, you could say, you know what, I'm not going to eat till noon, I'm not going to eat till 11, and then I'm not going to eat after, say, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, or even 6. Maybe you limit that to like 5 or 6 hours. So that only gives you a small period of time to eat. And then you kind of have to plan your meals with something like that because you're limiting your time frame, but it also will limit the amount of calories overall throughout the day that you could eat. So that's a really good strategy. And then I put down 2 other strategies, which is kind of what I use because I already eat a lot of protein. Not into fasting. I love breakfast way too much, but low carb, high fat, or high carb, low fat. So you never want your fat to go too low because fat is essential. You need fat, but a lot of people find that they don't really like fatty foods. They don't like avocados. They don't like olive oil. They don't like peanut butter. They don't like things like that, or whole eggs. They don't like cheese. They really would prefer to eat bread or eat rice or eat oatmeal or something of that sort, or even a lot of fruit. So for that person, eating a higher carb diet with lower fat, but keeping protein as a priority would be better suited for them. If you're more into bacon and eggs and avocados and peanut butter, and I could go on and on because I love fat red meat, then maybe limiting your carb intake is a better strategy for you. Maybe within your 2 weeks, you found that you did eat a lot more fat than carbs. And everybody always thinks sugar's the problem, but until you actually write down what you eat, then you're not gonna know. So when I wrote down what I ate, I realized I really wasn't eating that many carbs and that I like fattier foods. So when I went to lose weight, I kept as many of those fatty foods in so that I would keep my satiety better. I would keep myself on track. So when you're trying to lose a lot of weight, it's going to take a lot of time, and you're really going to need to keep yourself on track, and also keep yourself on track when you stop losing weight. So that the best way to go, if protein for carbs and fat is something you try and maybe it doesn't work, or it works for a while and then you stop losing weight, and then you try fasting or cutting off 3 or 4 hours of your day or your window, and then that works for a little bit and then stops working, then maybe you start to go one of these directions, whether it's high carb, low fat, or low carb, high fat, depending on what you like to eat. I know at times have went from a lot of carbs to no carbs. I went from a lot of fat to lower fat. And what I've kind of garnered from the whole thing and all these times that I've messed with my diet and things I like to eat is higher fat for me, and higher protein is kind of the way to go. So those are some diet strategies that you could use to be successful. And then the other piece of the puzzle is exercise. If you're somebody who does not exercise outside of work, and I'm sorry, but our job, if you're an RSR, is not exercise to a point, then the best way to start exercising is just go out and walk. Go out and walk 3 days a week, 4 days a week, go out for a half hour, go, every day for 10, 15 minutes a day, and then just slowly up it over time. That's the easiest way. And if you have joint problems or back pain or things like that limit the activities you can do outside of work, then walking is the best thing. I actually did not do anything like that cardiovascularly while I lost this weight, but that is the best place to start. If you're not active, even though you think work is very active, which it is active, but you need more. So walking is a great place to start. If you're somebody who already walks, maybe you're going to up it to running. If you're somebody who doesn't like either of those two, you could do manual labor. You could split firewood. You could, whatever you have around you, bale hay, things like that. Carry heavy things from one part of your property to another part of your property. Something that's going to get you kind of out of breath, get you sweating, getting you working harder is going to be the best thing for you. And then my favorite is weight training. I'm younger, obviously. I've been doing weight training since high school. I never really stopped. And I love it. So if you can find something that you love and you're passionate about, then that's something that's going to stick with you after you get to your goals of whatever weight loss or whatever your goal is as far as your body. But weight training for me is the biggest one, because weight training allows you to hold on to as much lean tissue, muscle mass as you possibly can while you're still losing weight. And the great thing about weight training is that it pairs well with our favorite macro, which is protein, because protein stimulates the construction of lean tissue. So while when you're eating less calories, it's almost impossible to actually build more lean tissue. If you're stimulating your lean tissue with exercise and you're stimulating your lean tissue with protein, while you lose weight, you'll hang on to all that lean tissue because you're telling your body that you need it. So that's why and if you're a beginner, you're somebody looking to start out, there's a million resources. There's YouTube, bodybuilding.com, T Nation, Elite FTS. I could go on and on about resources nowadays with how much, and social media is even a resource with how much information there is out there. So exercising, weight training, and your diet can pair to make a pretty good combo. So you got to put it all together. And the best way to do that is basically start where you're at. Write down what you eat, go from there, and then cut things out. You don't necessarily have to count calories. You could just say, wow, I eat a loaf of bread a week. I'm gonna eat half a loaf of bread this week, and then see what happens. The only way that you're going to sustain that is by eating things you like. Don't fall for all the things that get put out on the internet, lose weight fast, anything with taglines or hot take lines attached to them, because they're generally just something looking to make money and not necessarily actually looking to help you. But all in all, I lost 45 pounds over the course of about 3.5 months. Like I said in the beginning, I did it by weight training and controlling mainly my protein intake. That was all I really tracked when I tracked macros, and just going by portion size and kind of watching the things that I overate and just dropping them slowly over time as I lost weight. It's been 3.5 months since I lost the 45 pounds, and I am still at the body weight. I've actually lost a couple more pounds over the last couple weeks, but I've kept that weight off for almost the same amount of time as my diet lasted. So all in all, that's the best way I know how to do it. If you're somebody who knows anything about this, then you probably can relate to a lot of these things I talked about, and hopefully maybe you just needed something or somebody else to tell you that was a good way to go about it to get to your goals. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, you can probably get my contact information from Mike or RJ. Other than that, my name's Joe. I'm from Coos Bay, and that's my video.